Oh, mute. Guys, mute. Right, let's do all that again. So, hood. I get loads of compliments when I wear my hood with my ears. I've got another one with ears. That's so hard to find. So anyway, don't worry. It may be the nearest stream to Christmas, and happy Christmas to all those who celebrate it. But we're actually going to be talking modelling for most of it. There we go. So hopefully the audio is back now. It's always fun. I put the mic on mute so that, you know, if I type while I'm waiting, it doesn't sound. And I had pressed it, but obviously not quite hard enough. So there we go. No, it was me. It was all me. Always me. So anyway, I hope that this will be an interesting stream. I'm not one for looking back. Let's put it that way. I'm not one who spends a lot of time going over how I could have done something differently or whether I should have done it differently. And actually, when I get loads of comments of people telling me how I should have done it and how I could have done it better, my thought often is, but actually I'm never going to do this diorama again. So that's a great idea, but I'm not going to go back and redo the diorama because I didn't have a great idea in the middle of it. So it's not something I look back for, but that is what we're going to be doing tonight. So hello to everyone I've already said hello to. I don't know if anyone else, is that Chris R? I'm going to have to put the plus up so I can, it's on the wrong side. Try plus, so I can actually read the chat. It's an absolute nightmare trying to read chat. It's just the wrong part of my glasses. So there we go. And yep, it is Rudolph, Lily. And hi, Timothy Kynar, or Kynard, who's arrived. Lily says, love the eyeshadow. Thank you. Gold bling. Got to be gold bling. And basically, I've pared down in a lot of things. And we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. Whew. I don't know about you. 2025 has shot past. And I was thinking about this. What am I going to talk about? I was like, I have not done very much. I don't feel like I've done much good modelling because I'm always designing stuff. I've got a floor full over here of just prints. They're really good prints. I can just reach them. Here's one I prepared earlier. I've got exciting prints like that's multicolour. This is triple colour. And sadly, while printing one of the double colours, I went to pick my dad up this weekend and I left my printer with half an hour to go and it managed to clog its chute at the back, which if I say the word often seems to end up being censored on Discord, so I'm not going to say it, but the P00 chute at the back sometimes clogs, and it had all melted together and knocked the front off. So I had to get my 82-year-old mum to come around, reach in there, and it wasn't easy. It was really well jammed. Unjam it, which took her about 10 minutes. And I've had new door keys since she last had the keys. So by the time she'd found all my keys, she'd forgotten to pick her own keys up. And I have the spare keys for her house. So I'm 3 hours away. She's fixed my printer and she's forgotten her house keys. So thankfully, my neighbours took her to my other sister who's handicapped, who does have keys. And she was just going out the door to go shopping. So they just caught her in time to get the keys so that Mum could get back into her house and carry on packing presents. So yeah, there we go. Right, so that was so I just looked at chat and thought, so that was my fun yesterday, printing things. And it is fun. I do love designing stuff. So things like this, multicolour items, they've been fun. And I've been very inspired by Second Dynasty. Ben from Second Dynasty is, it's because I'm British, I say dynasty. He's the guy who almost got me into 3D printing, and he's been doing a lot of multicolour. His last Kickstarter was entirely optimised for multicolour printing. And it's very rare that the multicolour I'm going to be doing is AMS like this. You can do these just by stopping the print and swapping the filament colour. I have done that. It's quite easy generally on an you know, an open printer, it's just an awful lot of hand pulling out, but it wastes a lot less filament. So anyway, I'll be trying to split it mostly by parts. So this actually is a separate part that clips on to something else, and it's the coloured panel piece. So if you are going to print multicolour, it's only one small part where you may want to use the AMS. Anyway, so what else have we got in chat? So Lily says, yay, came and went before I was any wiser. I know, hasn't it just? Arden Fee says, what a long feeling, short feeling, chaotic year. And Lily said, yep, she said the word that I'm not going to say just in case. And I did have a constipated 3D printer. It was really blocked, bless it. Its back passage at the back, you know, the channel it goes down. So Norm said, never a dull moment. I presume that was 2025. And Arden Fee says, the robot proctologist is a new career that I didn't think would be a thing. Well, as my mum said, she's 82 and still picking up new tricks. She never thought she'd be able to fix a 3D printer for me at a distance. But she did. And I was back today, back into sorting everything. So I'm going to put a video to run. I think it is actually quite long. And so I'm going to put it to go because I just want it to go. It is just a compilation of all my stuff for the year. And I will admit, and I said at the beginning, I didn't think I'd done much modelling. I didn't think I'd done any decent painting. And I was looking at the sewer district here going, actually that looks quite good. And I'm one of these people, I generally hate everything that I do. I am not a fan of my own work. I really am not. And I find that with time, when I look back, I go, that wasn't as bad as I thought perhaps it was going to be. So obviously, I get past all my, I can't remember what I hated about it, I think. But yeah, anyway, this was the sewer district. So I'm going to leave this going. I've made myself a little bit larger than normal, just because you've hopefully watched all these before. If you haven't and you want to hear all about it, then, you know, you can pick any of them up on the YouTube channel later. But there was an awful lot of painting, airbrushing, painting, streaking, oil washes, more streaking, just great fun to do. And it made me realise I wish GridForge had been along, which is the new thing that I've been designing to recently. This was probably my last but one Kickstarter without it. And this Kickstarter did okay, and it was the start of the year. I think it did 3 or 4 grand. Wasn't huge, but as I look at it now, it's installed on Scut City, which is my giant sci-fi city. And I haven't talked a lot about that, but you'll see it starting to appear. If you're on my Patreon, you'll see it starting to appear on videos there. And you'll also see it starting to appear perhaps on social media as I just trying to get it off the ground and going again. But this was a huge amount of enamel washes, which actually need using up. They're quite old. And they do go off, they gunk up. So I was just trying to go through and see what was valid and what isn't. And things like that colour there, that winter streaking brown, which is the greenier one of my absolute favourite colours. Lily says, please mum, anything but a sewer level. My RPG guys like it because if they manage to get one of the teeth out, the 2 big teeth out of the sewer rats that you'll see, then they get, I can't remember, was it 250 credits a tooth? Because they're some, you know, use in medicine by some race that thinks they're really good. So if you can get one of those teeth, I mean, you have to kill them and they're not easy to kill, but, you know, my guys managed to kill a couple of them at least. So my RPG guys is my role-playing game. We play Star Wars Edge of Empire, and that's actually something I did this year. So let me just mention that I used to design for Star Wars Legion, and Star Wars Legion was having a bit of a downturn. And I thought it'd be nice to do some RPG terrain. And I'd stopped playing Star Wars Legion because the shop that I played at was really cold or really hot. And it just takes so long. People want to play at night and or the weekend, and I'm always busy in the day at the weekend. And I never really have been into military wargaming. if you look at the games I play, I don't do multiplayer. I tend to do RPG stuff. Campaigns, single person campaigns. Even Halo I play as a single person campaign. So I thought it'd be nice to try that, but you can't join games easily. There's nobody locally. I know John from the park who's on here, John Bracken, Tig, whatever he's called on this particular one, and it was just something I wanted to try, and I was really blessed because John decided. I said I'll GM one. I don't know how I ended up doing this. Having never played a single RPG in my life, I ended up GMing this game. So I now GM an Age of Empire game with Doug, who is on here, Tim, who is on here, and John, who is on here, and Mike, who isn't on here, probably because he's at work at the moment. He's in the US, so different time zone. And it's been brilliant. It's been really, really good. I like telling stories and making stuff up. I've had a whole overarching campaign that's going to finish this week or next week, depending how quickly they get through this week. And I've discovered something. They say women like to shop. Men shop way more. We spend at least some time every single session going shopping for these guys to buy stuff. I kid you not. They love to shop. It's brilliant. So anyway, the market level on Scut City, which is going to be my giant RPG set, not that we'll ever play on it, but it'd be great for taking photos and things like that. The Scut City is the giant sci-fi display where I'm putting all of these stuff, and it's in Legion scale because I like 1:48. All of this is Legion scale, but there is loads of 28mm just thrown in there, maybe at the back or towards the front or whatever. So yeah, so Shergle's here. Hi Shergle, welcome. Shergle is printing this beautiful red and green, not because it's Christmas, but red and green hammerhead from Second Dynasty at the moment. And it is absolutely beautiful. I'm really jealous. It looks good. Doug says it's an appropriate follow-up to the blocked shoot. It is indeed. The sewer levels. And Tim says teeth equals cash. Yep, it really does. And you might be seeing some more of them tomorrow night. Lily, what is this? Tooth Fairy Mange Edition. Yep, it really is. So Tim says the RPG sessions are fun. They are fun. And Tim had never done one before either, had you, Tim? So it's been a bit of fun. Doug's done loads. Mike's been doing it since the 80s. I think Doug's been doing it a similar length of time. So's John, actually. He played a lot. So there's Tim and I who know really very little. And John's done a lot of my NPCs for me, which has been brilliant because I'm not great at character building and he does. And Tim says nothing wrong with shopping. Nope, I'm not knocking it. It's great. If I don't know what else to do with them, let's just go shopping. I fear that in the future is a very volcanic location that you might need extra gear for. Anyway, so Lily says, I always see you playing the RPG on Discord and I never pop in because I don't want to disturb. I think it's private. I mean, I don't know if you can actually get into it. Unless you're part of those channels. Certainly a lot of the channels are set up as private, not for any reason other than because they literally just ping if I didn't, and it would get annoying to everybody else. So that's why they've been done as private, to stop all those notifications, which I guess you could just turn off, to stop all those notifications. But Tim says it was his first RPG. So Shergle, shopping takes forever in RPGs when you don't operate on the assumption that reasonable gear for the skills of the characters will be readily available. Well, they're based in a city that has everything they could possibly want. So the rarer stuff just takes longer to come in. So at Christmas time, some of all the really rare weapons they've ordered will come in. And then Shergle says, shopping should be deeply personal, customised item like a spacesuit or a gun. It is, and actually they are going off. They're all getting a weapon for Christmas, I think, by the sound of it. They're buying themselves them. And Doug says, we already bought stuff for Corrix. We don't need another shopping spree. That's true. Yeah, you're okay. They're down to the big finale coming up either this week or next week, depending how quick they are. So Lily, so this is my, Lily says she doesn't know what these things are that are in the footage, and she doesn't want to know who. These are the sewer monsters. They're like chunky dyed ogres because they're FDM printable. So they're quite chunky tentacles. I could have made them a lot less chunky. And John statted them up for me and done sewer monsters. He always overpowers the NPCs. So anyway, they are sewer monsters, and these are the sewer sci-fi rats that have, if you don't notice, 6 legs, because, well, why wouldn't aliens have 6 legs? Who knows? Anyway, they all have 6 legs. These resin print all apart from one set that you can do in FDM, but just the supports. Lily, you saw how supports worked when you were trying to get your train cab done. I don't think I like them that much. So it makes me laugh when I see what people put in the comments. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about, I look back on the year, and I started the year with the sewer district, and it was an average campaign. It did about a little bit better than Caddo, which had been the autumn before, but it didn't do great guns. And this is my career. My patrons dropped this year. I think quite a lot of Americans have felt the squeeze and dropped out. YouTube's down because I'm not putting much content on it. And this year I set myself some things of, I need to sort out what I'm going to do with Patreon. I'm actually at the end of the year and I still haven't decided. I do, and you'll see one in a minute, every week that I'm not doing an early release of an actual YouTube video, I do a 5-minute update, which is rarely 5 minutes to be honest, but I do a 5-minute update on basically what I've been up to that week, which for a lot of the time is just, I might talk about, I made some multicolour bits and get them out, or I might talk about my printers, or I might talk about Scut City, or whatever it is that I've been working on. So they're quite me sort of downloading. I used to put a lot more time and effort into doing the videos, but actually I find 5 minutes makes me think about what I've been doing and looking for something, and I'll put a tip in normally as well. And they don't take long. You don't even have to pay that much to get hold of them. I think my lowest tier is only a couple of quid or something, or maybe even a quid. So it's not that much. And, my Patreon over the years has dropped off because I'm obviously not doing much advertising on YouTube, but I still spend, an hour or so every week doing this for people. Digger always comments on it, so I guess you always watch them, Digger. And I think you're actually a YouTube channel member rather than on Patreon, because I also have YouTube channel membership that's the same content every week. So, I still do those. I would like there to perhaps be discounts on my main store or something, especially now I've got more stuff on the store. So I need to think about what I'm going to do with Patreon. So if you've got any ideas what you would do with Patreon, and someone asked me about a discount code, pop it in chat. I don't want to do a lot of monthly admin, and I don't want to do monthly models, because I see that it's really good for people who have it, but it's also really draining. And I went the direction I did into Kickstarter, which is periodic, because I can take a month off after a Kickstarter and then start again, and not have, like Ben from Second Dynasty at the moment, the drag of trying to get a Kickstarter out and a tribe, and people are off and doing things, and it becomes hard work. So I desperately do want it to be better, I guess, for me as a work-life balance. Anyway, let's see what chat says, because it looked like it was pausing a bit. I don't know if it's just my playback or if it was on the actual stream, but it says excellent. So what do we say? Right, Shergle, shopping is pointless when the lava melts your gear when you drop it. True. They don't actually have to get quite as low as the lava. It's the next level up. I've assumed Scut City is like Coruscant and has 5,000 levels, though it might just be 5,000 feet. I don't know what it relates to. And I think level 600 is the level with the temple on. I know that only because I picked the post-it note off earlier today that was on that level. So Lily says, it's reminiscent of nope-sized spiders, so my phobia is kicking hard. It actually is based more on a tentacled thing than a spider thing, if that helps. Chunky tentacles from eating too many sewer rats. Oh, definitely. But the sewer rats, ooh, yeah, they're vicious. So Shergle says, anyway, shopping traps and doors taking forever is a symptom of agency leaking into low-value frames. If your adventure was a TV show, they'd only show the montage. That's true. Yeah. Okay. Lily says, me and my bags are going to mess you up. Me and my boys are going to mess you up. I rolled a 1. Well, actually, because we're playing Edge of Empire, we don't have 1s and 6s. We have success, fail, advantage, disadvantage, triumph and despair. And I just get to talk, basically, a lot. Oh yeah, and as Doug says, it's not D20 based. Digger says, I do indeed. Oh, that's watch my channel videos. And then John Bracken, the multi-armed critters are not nice, but the rats are cute, just a bit scary for the RPG characters. They are big for RPG characters, and they come in 2 sizes. Everything that I do comes in 2 sizes, 35mm, which is for me, and 28mm, which is for almost everybody else. So, you know, things like panels like this, they're fine. You know, they can be either size. But as soon as you get into anything someone has to sit on or in, or a bed, I've got 2 sizes. So there we go. Doug says it isn't to say that any pilot can pass a piloting check. So one of the things when you play RPGs is you throw a lot of dice and you notice certain trends. One, Tim will walk into any wall. If you did perception checks, he literally fails every single one and walks into all the walls. John, our pilot, cannot pass an easy piloting check. He literally fails an easy... I daren't even do a piloting check now just because he fails them all. It's so funny. Anyway, Lily, I don't even watch the content. I just throw a quid for the crike, as it were. Well, thank you, Lily. I do appreciate that because I know you haven't got a lot, but thank you. But yeah, it's fun to do them, and I think it's good to have a weekly routine. So it was hitching for you too. That's good. And there's Shergel throwing his red dice. So the one thing I did when I did this is I did things like ventilation shafts, and I'm going to talk now a bit about looking. The talk of this was looking backwards to look forwards or move forwards. And one of the things that I need to do more, I don't like looking back, as I said, is to look back and see what was successful and what wasn't. This is, in some ways, supposed to be a business that I run, which it is. And I think that I really liked how this came out. I mean, I did tops for them, and you can never play my sewer district because it's all shoved in and really hard to get at now. But it has great vistas. If you lean down and look, you can see all the way to the back. And it's it was a fun thing to do. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed painting the sewers as well. And as I look back, I think, well, actually, that went really well. I did some multicolour printing. I printed some stuff in brown and some stuff in, I don't know, grey, and then painted it. But overall, the vast majority of my learning points on this were that I should have done it perhaps as grid forge, which wasn't out at the time. I should have made it easier or smaller pieces. I don't know. I really enjoyed it, but it didn't sell that well. It did okay. It was in an early slot in the year, which generally don't do as well. But I enjoyed it, and there was a lot in there. I probably did too much. It's one of my problems. I always do too much. And there was a lot of really, really big files with the junk that I really struggled to make printable until I learned a tip. And the tip was, when it gets like that, just do a remesh modifier, and as long as it's mostly manifold to start with, it'll be fine afterwards. And that's what I ended up doing with these. So this is me talking, and this is an example of a Patreon video from the start of the year. And yet my hair always does seem, I didn't get to wash it this morning because I was at my dad's. My hair always just seems to get in the way. It's weird. But so this is my kitchen, and then this is me talking about the start of the next Kickstarter that I was running, which is the training ground. I actually got a marketing guy to help me with this, and he said, gave me some loads of ideas, suggested stuff. It was my worst ever Kickstarter But I can see just popping up now, I actually did do a couple of videos for YouTube that had absolutely nothing to do with any of my Kickstarters. And this is a rarity for me now, to do any modelling that isn't based on a Kickstarter. And this was from Mithari March by Dartfire. He created some really lovely Mandalorian models, and he asked for inspiration from people, and he modelled the ones you said. So I said the fire starter, and he's got a double fire flamethrower and a jetpack. So this is what Ty did based on the sort of 5 or 6 lines that I gave as inspiration for it. And he did a whole one for every day of the month, but every working day, I think. So they're really good and definitely worth subscribing to somebody like that to get his excellent modelling. I think Ty is probably one of my favourite designers out there who does figure modelling. He's absolutely brilliant, and he does great big ships and stuff like that. He's just brought out 80 arties. This month is going to be his thing. I literally brought them all on Black Friday sale, then he brought them all out again. So I'm going to have loads of different options. So this was me painting minis. Now I'm going to say I don't think I'm good at painting minis. I really don't. It's not a forte of mine. I do it regularly enough on the channel. It rarely gets good views because it's not something I normally do. I don't think I'm blowing any awards out. It's just not something that people are going to tune into my channel to watch. But having said that, I really enjoy doing this just as a little bit of extra. I do struggle to see it as well as I used to. Eyesight isn't what it was and all that. But helmets are a godsend. So Shergel rolled a double 1. Oh, it looks like a double 1 from here. Lee said it's crack. Okay. And Tim says my phase shifter has a fault. Bin paint removal as a side job, maybe. True. It reminds me of an environment in Baldur's Gate 3, says Lily. I haven't played Baldur's Gate 3, I'm afraid. But I was sort of thinking of all those sewers that you crawl through all the time, and the vents especially, that people are always crawling through in books. So yeah. I'm sure we can fall on a 99% chance most of the time. Dodgy dice. Yeah, fail. John can fail an easy roll when he's got 4 yellows, which is about the best you can get as his skill. So Doug says, Shergel is a big fan of Traveller, which uses 2d6, 1 positive and 1 negative, added to the skill. Interesting. Digger, at least you've got hair to watch, Kathy. Thank you for that. Yep, I do have hair to wash. Yeah, I've got a lot of hair as well, compared to most people. So even if I pull out handfuls, I've still got a lot left. So Doug says, I've played Traveller twice and found it to be TTRPG, tedious trading role-playing game, but many people like it, so it's probably the group. I think sometimes it's about the group you're with. I think we've got a really good group. Lily says, all those hairballs in the drain, I know the pain. Oh, my drain's clogged regularly. So Lily says, oh, you're missing out. BG3 is excellent. So my plans for Christmas playing of games is to play the 2 DLCs for Outlaws that I haven't played, and to finish off KOTOR. So I've played KOTOR 1, but not KOTOR 2. And when I've done that, I want to play some SWTOR, because I can actually play it on this Mac. And I started playing it and didn't get any better. Or any, I got just off the opening bit onto Coruscant. And for all of you who don't know what I'm talking about, KOTOR and SWTOR are 2 Star Wars games set in the Old Republic. So it's about 1,000 years before, and the Mandalorians are sort of just fought a war, and they're fighting against the Sith around that era. So it's really interesting. SWTOR is an MMO, so it's a mass something online, multiple mass. I don't know, it's online. And it's really clunky graphics, as has KOTOR, but great storylines, I'm hoping. So I want to carry on playing them, but to be I have to tidy my house. I got a comment right at the top about, are you going to tidy the house, from the picture that was on the thing. And that was actually, we'll talk about it at the end, me disassembling 3D printers. And yeah, let's just put it this way. Tidying the house was supposed to be a 2025 thing. In fact, I looked back at the start of the year. I wrote on the 31st of December all the things I wanted to do this year. And they were things like Finished modelling more scimitar. Not finished yet. I went down the multicolour and lighting route, so that didn't get finished. I need to do it for Kelron, who wants it to print. Finished painting your Star Wars Legion army. Nope, I haven't painted any more on that. Do something with your lat, put it in a diorama. Haven't done that yet. Do your ATTE diorama. The ATTE is printed. I did a little bit of work, but not a huge amount, on how to mount it, because I want it to be teth when they're going up. It's going to be vertical. Not sure how the 3D print's going to cope with that. And then paint up your Shatterpoint minis. Nope, haven't done that either. Finish your Titanfall helmet. No, that's not being done. Finish your Titanfall workshop diorama. That was the first thing almost I printed on my Peopoly Phenom, which I must have brought in, arrived over COVID, I think. So 5 years ago. Gosh, I've had a lot of new printers since then. And I haven't yet done anything with it. It's just leaking a little bit of resin in a box somewhere. And then, what was the other one? No, there's another one as well about finishing something else. Oh, the droids. My 3 droids that are in pieces. No, haven't done that either. So all of those long-term plans that I put on at the start of the year are all still sat on my to finish. But I look at this and I can see I did at least paint 4 Mandalorians and another 4, which eventually went out only last month, up for YouTube. So that's about the only stuff I did that wasn't Kickstarter, apart from Thunderbirds, which was a bit of a squeeze in this year. So I got some real painting done. Oh, so we've got Digger saying, sadly, the amount of hair I have on my head is a mere spoonful. Yes. Well, you shouldn't have to worry about clogging your drains. And then Lily says it's a mass multiplayer online. Thank you. Or a massive multiplayer online, says Doug. So yeah, thank you for that. I knew there was words in it that began with M and O. So yeah. So one of the things I did want to get done this year was to tidy my house. Because when I had my workshop done, which I think was 23, I ended up with a lot of stuff in boxes. And I've got an understairs cupboard full of Gundam, of which I'm now starting to get rid of the ones I don't want to build and clipping the rest. I've started to do that of an evening. And I wanted also to go through all my Kickstarters, because I've now done 8. I've done 8 Kickstarters now. And there's crates of test prints for all of them. And I either display them and I put out my pod racers on top of my sideboard. I called it Galactic Racers. Star Wars have literally just announced a game yesterday or the day before called Galactic Racers. I thought, okay, I hope they don't come after me for IP infringement because I used their name before they even used it. Anyway, I've got those out now, so there's a little bit of a winding through. And I've been using Scut City, which is a massive, and we'll see the shorts that I did this year as well, a massive big display area to start putting the stuff out. So this evening I went through all my Cadou, which was the temple one, and pulled out the columns I needed to create a Sith temple and a Jedi temple. And even with those columns pulled out, I've still got 3 crates of stuff that is there, though probably actually one of the crates is nearly full of something out of Galactic Racers. So what can I say? There's a lot of test prints. My floor is test prints. It's just all the time. 8 Kickstarters, says Norm, very impressive. Yeah, it starts to feel, I can only get 3 in a year. I'd like to get 4 in a year. But it's really hard to get the 4th one in when they say, oh, you can't run a Kickstarter after Black Friday and before, say, early March, end of Feb, early March. So that doesn't leave you a lot of months in the summer that you're not already still trying to finish off the other one. So I end up always running 3. So yeah. So Lily says, who's copying whom? Interesting. Yes, I don't know. I think they didn't get it from me. But Galactic Racers was an obvious name for it, I thought. So Lily says, I've seen a YouTuber make a mini Lego tube train model only to have the official TFL fan shop rip it off. so I wouldn't be surprised. No, I'm pretty sure they managed to come up with it on its own. And Doug, I'm not going to sue Disney for it, that's for sure, considering it's a little close to there. It's one that was too close, and I've deliberately come further away since then. Now, the training grounds, I got this marketing guide to help, and I really think it suffers from actually trying to hit too many markets. He suggested that if I had the base buildings, he felt I could get 2 or 3 games, different types of games, out of the ones I already had. I'd done Galactic and a few of the ray shields and stuff like that. So he said, make it feel like it's able to hit all these different games, and you could then sell it to people who want to be able to use the set across a group of games. This was my worst Kickstarter ever. It struggled to break £2,000. And I thought, you know, at the end of this, really, you know, there is no chance that I can continue to do this as a living if I am just making £2,000 a year, £2,000 3 times a year. It's just, that's £6,000 a year coming in. It's just not feasible. And Ben was really helpful. He said, well, remember, Kathy, you've always got these models. You can continue to sell them for the rest of the shop. So you'll always, even if it didn't do well this time, there will still be future sales of it. And you can see I started to do a bit of multicolour. I printed some bits in brown and some bits in bone white, and where they're brown they normally fit in. There's an all-in-one option as well, but I made it so you could print them separately if you wanted to do the colour. And I used Gridforge for the tiles, and Gridforge is something that John Games developed for Second Dynasty, and it's a good way of just picking stuff up and putting them in. This was inspired by Titanfall originally. So this one, which was aimed at Grimdark, it's not something I'll ever particularly use. But actually, I look at Survivor, and Jedi Survivor, the video game, and it has sort of some areas where things are put out like that, as like with the loads of B1 battle droids patrolling them in one of its levels, so or one of its worlds. So I don't know, I will use all of this, maybe slightly repainted in Scut City. And the ray shields I really enjoyed doing, but I ended up with all these different styles, and it didn't land. It obviously just didn't hit the market, but the market was really struggling. And when this came out, every creator I spoke to was down. They literally were down. And I've still got one person who has never told me which of the packs they bought 2 packs, and they've never told me which of the packs they wanted. And so I haven't been able to deliver the files because they haven't told me which 2 packs they wanted. I never emailed them and they've never got back to me. So there we go. So Lily says, my uncle would go nuts over your stuff. Come to think of it, shame I'm not in touch with him. You should be. You know, if he's going to go nuts over it, because you do similar stuff. He's been a Star Wars nerd for 40 years. Yeah, I wasn't really a Warsy when I was young. I was more of a Trekkie. But there we go. Burn a phone, anonymous account. Yeah. Shergel says, I do what I want at my table, and Disney doesn't interfere unless I sell or broadcast it. My trouble is that I do sell stuff. You know, that is my problem, is that I do sell what I create. So it is an issue. But I really enjoy doing the damaged walls and stuff. Yeah. And there we go. So this was probably the lowest point of the year, in that it was a really, really bad Kickstarter. But I dusted myself up because I've been doing this a long time, and there were ups and downs, and it was partly the market. And I did a few more videos for YouTube that weren't really modelling. They were more just ancillaries. This one is about what did I use. Using the plate as a palette here because it was white and it showed it off. So this is one of my dinner plates, which I then cleaned the paint off very well. And then I was trying to show off that I actually really use minimal colours when I am painting everything. Even when I did the sewer district, I used all those bottles, but I still didn't use that many colours. And for this, I didn't base coat anything. I literally went over it just with sponging. And these are weathering sponges by Green Stuff World, and I absolutely adore them. They are absolutely brilliant, and I use them all the time. It's just an easy way of handling them. And I used it, and all my painting was done with sponges, and I think it's brilliant because it hides FDM lines, do sponges, in a way that washes can sometimes bring them out. But do never pour on quite as much of the gloss stuff that I used to get the terrain tiles, because they all warped when they dried. But I think just sponges and paint like this, and because I've used a matte FDM, the paint just sticks to it. It's fine. I don't need to worry about anything else. Shergall said to Doug, I need to arrange a traveller session. You do. Lily, I don't have his number. I'm just asking my nan if it would put me in a slightly awkward social situation, especially just to send him your stuff. Yeah, it's difficult. Families can be difficult. Let's just go there. There was a traveller one-shot running at my not very local games club, says Jug, tonight, but all the spaces went before I could sign up. Oh, so I got you instead. So I think that's good. It's funny how people really worry about painting, and all I do is splodge it on and wipe it off a lot of the time. And I think sometimes it's just confidence. So when I look back, I'd forgotten I'd even done these videos when I was putting all the stuff together. I just went down my YouTube channel and pulled out all the videos I'd made. And I was like, I'd forgotten I'd even done these things. It's just such a... I don't know, it feels like such a long year, but such a short year at the same time. So one of the things I'm debating at the moment is I'm doing multicolour, and because my next Kickstarter is the Medwing, I've got my gas masks. Oops, where is it? There it is. Right, this is a gas mask device. Panel goes on the wall. I've got my Kickstarter coming up, Medwing. I feel that needs to be very clean, but I love doing dirty stuff, and I like the way it looks then when I do the photos for Kickstarter. So as I look back, I look at it and think, well, should I make the Kickstarter that I'm doing, should I try and make one section painted, which is what I did this time. I did a clean set, which was the 28mm, and I did a dirty set, which was the 35mm. And I did it with pigments, and you'll see all those videos in a minute. And I've been wondering whether I make the hospital section for this really clean, but then have the research lab that something's escaped. And without going full Alien Earth, because it wasn't my favourite TV show this year, actually pull together something that has that feeling that things have escaped, so that I have a bit more grunge and spillage in the research lab. I may even be able to do it in the 3D prints. If I was to have things that are spilled that print in a basic, so it's glossy, and then print everything else in matte, I might be able to get it to look like a 3D print. But a lot of people are telling me, oh, I don't have time to paint, I don't enjoy painting, I don't want to pick it out. So if I can get it printed 90% out the printer, that's better for me. But I do think things like this sell Kickstarters better. So let me know, what do you think? Do you think that when you're looking, something like a Kickstarter that has painted buildings is more appealing to you than something that doesn't? So this is Scut City, and the right hand side is completely different now from that plan that was just up, but this was part of my tidying. I've had to create a sort of frame to put everything in, and I wouldn't have got the frame together without John's help. He came in from the park and helped me move this solid metal frame. I literally had to sort of press it, roof it up above my head, and I couldn't. So he was very helpful in getting the final assembly done. So I just had to I just couldn't do this. I couldn't do that on my own. So he came to help and then hid from the camera completely. Totally, like completely. So these were shorts I did, and I'd like to do more. Scut City will go on shorts. And then I've ended up with a lot of spare plywood, to be honest, because I decided not to do the right-hand side that way. I did a lot of tests with sizing and how to fit stuff, and I cut a circle out in the middle and then literally couldn't get in to do anything. It became too difficult. So I ended up cutting the circles out and making them into U's. And the circles are based on Coruscant, where these are ventilation and access shafts. And this must have been last year I did this. And this shows you how bad I am at doing stuff. It was over winter last year. So that plywood has been sat in my kitchen for a year, like a full year now, at least, in my kitchen, at least. So I was doing this. It's got a lot more in it, and Grid Forge came out in that time. So I've decided that all the bases are going to be grid forged together. But the biggest problem is, how do I reach all the electronics at the back? And I think on the front, all the Arduinos are going to be at the front so I can access them. And I bought some, literally this week, to try some touch, they're like a PC board with a touch thing. And apparently the guy in one of the reviews said, yeah, it works through 4 layers, 0.2 mil of like 3D print. So I'll be able to have it that I can touch on and off everything from the front eventually. So yeah, I did feel it felt very shelvy. And what I'm going to do is make sure that there's more stuff going up through it. And some things have changed. I decided I wasn't going to, I mean, that's going in there, but I've had to pull it out because I have to stand in there to do any work. And then the secret hanger I need to line up, and I've used it. I put it in there for these, which was my sewer district shots. And I'm just putting a Sith temple on the right. I put some photos on Discord earlier of it. And I need obviously for it to be lit to go with this. And I'm just working out the lava cavern, the rock that's going to go at the back. And one of my future Kickstarters is going to be a asteroid base. So a lot of this will then work with the asteroid base, I think. So where at the bottom it's going to be rock with like metal, and the idea is that the city, you'll see the foundations coming down to the bottom, and I want some long lifts at the front that go the length of it on my metre long twirly stuff. So I've got the lighting to go in still. It's on the floor upstairs, and this was quite a lot earlier this year, but can't have been too, because I'm in a t-shirt, so it must have been nearer the summer, because I'm rarely in a t-shirt unless it's very hot. And so I need to get on and get all this sorted. I've got it all printed, I just haven't put it together. And part of it is just, I need to get on and do it. I really just need to get on and do it. So over the last month, I've made a concerted effort to stop at 4 and go and do an hour on Scut City to try and get it moving along. And once Scut City's at a certain stage, it'll be the droids and things. So this is Outbound Station, and it uses Grid Forge. And I have to say, Grid Forge is probably one of the easiest systems to use. I do find the walls will fall off if I'm not careful, but for this, I painted all of these. There's a clean set and a dirty set, and it's all weathered with pigments, because the grey looks really uninspiring to me. And that's why I asked about painting for Kickstarters. Let's have a look. Ooh, we've got loads of stuff. Right. So I do prefer TTRPGs in person because I'm a prop comic referee. I would like it in person, but actually I don't have anywhere to put it, so I'm quite happy for it to be online. And I do props. I've actually got a prop here. Bless them. This took, where's the, there we are. That took forever. It's a puzzle box. Took forever them to line up. It's not going to open now because it's out of sync yet. To line up all of these bits so they could open it up to get the piece out the inside. Partly because it's really hard to read the smaller bits. So there we go. That was a puzzle box. I was going to put it out, but it doesn't work that well. So I need to think a bit more about how I do that in future. But yeah, I do props occasionally. I've also got all the pieces for the Artifact Hunter on the side there. I did print them and produce them. So yeah. So Lily says, we're on good terms. I'm just completely outside of that social circle now. Yeah, social circles change as you get older. So Doug, it's Christmas, Lily. Ask your nan for contact details of all your relatives that you're willing to talk to so that you could send them Christmas greetings. That's a good idea. Norm agrees. Doug, then sell your uncle on buying a 3D printer and all of Kathy's stuff. Doug, I like the way you think. Thank you. Lily says, I'd say paint limited quantities of painted versions at a slightly increased price. There are probably people like me who might not be able to paint well enough. Yeah. But you've seen from some of my videos that actually this has no painting particularly other than just colouring in. And then loads and loads of weathering on top to hide it. Lily, goodness, it sounds like I would have whale of a time at your house with all the fun clutter around. Oh, I think Shergill's house is where I want to visit. It looks really good. Shergill, you could read the plasma conduits through the Jeffreys tubes for easy access. I know, but I'm not scale sized. It's not that easy. Jeffreys tubes. That's a Star Trek reference for those. Don't make it too selfish. Some people are allergic. Shergill's dad jokes are out. Oh dear. You are Geordie's visor to warp core and sing into Data's knees. I do remember Data having a phone in his chest. They're spelled correctly, not wrong. There's a song, USS, that seems apt here. Okay. This was a very successful Kickstarter. Yes, and actually, what's interesting about Outbound Station was it used GridForge, so it was the RPG group that I was aimed at rather than the Legions. It was very specifically clean sci-fi or weathered, maybe desolate sci-fi. So it was. Oh, I'm not Star Wars particularly, but I could be in Star Wars. I'm not Alien, but I could be Alien. I'm not a number of other things. I could be Traveller. It didn't hit any one market by being too specific to it. But I think it definitely could have been a good one for Traveller. Shergill certainly probably would be the person to answer that. But yeah, this was my best ever Kickstarter. So I finished the year on a high, a slightly worn out high, of being my best ever Kickstarter. It did 10 grand, over 10 grand. I have never done that much. And it was an absolute joy, really, because I actually really enjoyed designing it as well. So, and Shergill says, especially considering how the market is down right now. Yeah, very true. The next Kickstarter, add a one-person reward tier to buy the painted 28mm set. I probably should actually, shouldn't I? To get rid of it. Shergill, it's a mess, my house. It's lived in. Shergill, my house is incredibly lived in. My floor is full of bits like this. Ugh. Like the whole floor is full of test prints for these. So the panels that I was waving around, this is an S, specifically requested by Doug, the S shape and the Omega shape. But, this is a little panel. And then if I get this, these just slide on and click down with just a little push. So there we've got multicolour. Oh, crap, Kelly, right in the right place. So there we've got multicolour. Now I've printed the base in 2 colours, but you could actually print all that in 1 colour and have the base and not really have too much colour changing and have a really, different look. So reach again. This is the corridor version of the one that is down here, you know, printing at the moment. You see that cross? That cross is on there. And these haven't got their tops because I haven't designed the new tops yet. And so if you want to just do a simple colour version, you know, your floor and your wall print in one colour, and then these are just slide on, slide off, quite stiff so they don't just fall off, but they're slide on, slide off, and automatically it's just really simple. But it means I can print stuff like this, which you literally can't, and that's translucent, looks really good from the side. You literally can't print it that way up, but I can print it that way up. Oops, yeah, okay, that way up rather than that way up. But I can print it that way up when this is here, and then it slots in so it's this way up, and I can do really good prints as a result. So I really like this slot in. I did a tight version when I printed in basic, and that was fine. But then I did a loose version for when I printed in matte, I could not get it to slide in. So there we go. Lily says, my flat is a dump because depression. To be honest, Lily, I find an untidy house gets me down. So I definitely get that. It's kind of becomes a bit of a circle, really. You're too depressed to be bothered to tidy, but actually it then gets you down because it isn't tidy. So yeah. Shergel, and my grandson is in the throw starships phase. I want the make whoosh noises phase instead. Yeah. But I'm glad to hear it's getting better, Lily. I'm doing a little bit every day, as I said, 4 o'clock, trying to tidy and just get everything, you know, put away. Shergel, that should be for vehicles so you can see the escargot. Oh, is that like a snail joke? Evening, Kathy and everyone. Hi, Bill. Can't stay, just saw the live stream notification and thought I'd wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and all the best for 2026. Same for you. Enjoy. I hope you get a good break. And then Doug says it's about making narrow corridors easy. Yeah, it is. Yeah. And this is his S he's talking about, and the Omega as well, which has a sort of a 2 S's, sort of a end to end. But I have to say, I got the spacing wrong on the bits these stick on for the Omega and the S's, and I couldn't get some of the pieces on. I was at 3 attempts before I realised what I'd done. So everyone's saying Happy Christmas to Bill. Snail jokes have been a slow burn unless you add salt. Oh, Shergel, where do you get them from? And then John says, I've got some colour filaments on order ready for the multicolour. Makes a nice change to not need to paint. To be honest though, you saw what I was doing with training grounds. They all started with this base coat. So I probably will print up a section to show how easy it is to take this, to take a sponge and just to dab it, just to add a little bit of variety, maybe even just a lighter orange, maybe a little bit of white or something on the edges, and not have to do too much. Where did he get his jokes from? Yeah, probably the sewer level. Probably. Tell you what though, the bathroom that I did here is so smeggy, I really wouldn't want to do it. And I had to loosen those desks because they were so hard to get open again. But you can see how smeggy that looks there. And I did change the flashing, but obviously not on this one. And this is the dirty version and the clean version. There is a storage downside to multicolour, says Shergel. I know, because I need multiple rolls of every single one. And I've got so much, because it was down to £9 a roll on bamboo, I've got so much now. But then I can print things like my lava cavern rock and just spray it all black. So that's probably what I'll do. So Bill says, that episode of TNG with the phone in Data's chest was season 7 episode Phantasms. Super Trekkie here. That is very impressive. I have to say, I didn't realise I hadn't watched series 5 of Discovery because it wasn't really on in the UK. It was very badly scheduled. It was on some weird streaming service nobody had. that was live at 9 o'clock on a Friday night, and I didn't even notice it was on until halfway through. So I never saw season 5, so we've just rewatched Discovery. And yeah, Michael Burnham is as annoying as ever. So yeah. Doug, don't acknowledge them, it only encourages him. Is that Shergill? Anyway, Shergill, also each filament is turned ever so slightly differently. Tuned ever so slightly differently. Yeah. Shergill, I'm incorrigible. I think that was a setup. It's me, says Tim. One of the things that people wanted me to do with the hanging meats here was hanging people. So I've actually got a morgue planned, and that's the first thing I did for the medical wing. And what I did was I created these little, I really wish I'd, it's because I've got myself half off frame. So I've got these, which is, it's got a little slidey scanner. I haven't quite worked out what I'm putting here. There'll be some appendages to go on here as well. And these are them folded away. This is the 28mm because the bed's a bit smaller. And then I've also got it in 35mm folded away. I haven't quite finalised it because it hasn't got the proper floors on, because I hadn't done the floors at that point. But you can also get them out, and here we go. There's knives and grippers and saws and stuff. So this is the self-whatevering morgue table. And I also redid the, these are the droids from the previous Kickstarter. And they're going to be, one's a service droid and one's a hospitality droid. And they are smaller. They're about 70% of the last one, I think, which is what Doug did them at. So I need to do a new droid that those arms can go in. But the new droid is going to be like the ones that look like this, that are round top and bottom, and like a Haxion Brood droid, if you've ever fought those in a game. This is actually my one diorama I did this year. That wasn't a Kickstarter, I think. I didn't actually put in here the Jurassic Park re-wetting. Obviously, I didn't notice it. It should have been in here somewhere, and I haven't put it on. So I did actually redo a diorama that was really bugging me, and that was the Jurassic Park one, and I think I missed it out. I missed the Thunderbirds one out as well, so obviously my look down the channel didn't go that well. So yeah. So Lily says, Discovery I used to binge years ago. Some weird, some fun stuff. Yep. Sounds like the story of P10 and Babylon 5. I don't know what P10 is. I know that Deep Space Nine and Babylon 5 were sort of more or less at the same time, but Babylon 5 just way outclassed Deep Space Nine. So the morgue requires flickering light fixtures. Yeah, but then people write and tell me it's not good for their niece who's got epilepsy or something. So I need to just be careful about that. So hanging meat, hanging people, what's the difference? Well, if you're an alien, not much. This message was brought to you by Cannibals United International. So hanging people makes me think of the 70s movie Coma, says Shergill, which actually a lot of people did think about as well. And I had some photos sent me of that. Abbreviated as CUI, so you can call it cuisine. Oh, Lily, you're on a roll there. Does this clown stew taste funny? But so Shergill. I suggest doing something themed about Doctor Who, but the BBC sack every tiny review that is covered under fair dealings, so best not. I don't want to do Doctor Who. I love Doctor Who. I grew up on it. I really love Tom Baker and David Tennant, but the recent Doctor Who just hasn't really engaged with me. P10 was the network B5 was broadcast on, had many troubles. Okay, right. Over here it was just, I don't even think what it was on Sci-Fi, I think. Lily, like even just regular reviews, they copyright claim. Oh, I didn't know that. But then they put it all in Radio Times. I have to say, I didn't think much of the Doctor Who fandom. When it restarted, I was used to Star Wars, and there nobody will talk spoilers about the episode until a week has gone past. And the new Doctor Who came, and there was something that looked cute that turned out to not be cute. And somebody had put the reveal up within a day, and I hadn't even seen it at that point. And a few people moaned about spoilers, but I just thought it's just really rude, you know, so I don't think the fandom's that great. This diorama dripped glue for days. I put so much on it, trying to cover stuff, and it dripped glue out the back, white glue at the back, for days. So Joel, hi Joel. Hello everyone from France. Are you using filament or resin 3D printer? Merry Christmas to you all. I use both, but I design for FDM because it's safer and it's running 24/7, and I just prefer that safety. And I'm doing terrain. I think it's safer, you know, something this size. I've done them in resin and they've warped a lot over time. If they're big, I find that sometimes the resin gets caught and I get leaks. So do you remember my galactic racers I did? And I did a pit stop scene and I printed one in FDM and one in resin, and there's not a huge amount of difference to them once they're painted up. I went and looked at that box and there was resin running around the bottom of it, and obviously I'd supported that myself. I got someone else to pre-support it for the actual Kickstarter, but he was busy, so I'd supported it myself, and I must have missed one of the drain holes at the bottom connecting into maybe the wall or something, and it had resin in there and it had come out of one of the end walls. It had shattered it. This is on a painted finished model, and then leaked a ton of resin, presumably diluted by IPA as well or something, into the bottom of this crate full of other 3D prints. So you don't get that with FDM. So that's why I stay with FDM. And as it gets better with colour and it gets more finer details, and I've got some 0.2 nozzles to try, I want to do some people. As all that improves, it really, really becomes just I think a better proposition safety wise. Lily says the recent Doctor Who is being drivel and it's such a disservice to all performers involved. That's true. It's not done the performers justice, I think. I think ITN had many troubles around the second series of Space 1999. Yeah, but that was a good series. Yeah. Doug says Games Art included a Gridforge police box in their MTV Big Ship Kickstarter. Oh, I've seen you show that off. It looks so cool. Yeah, it really does. And then, what are you gluing to that foil in the footage? It looks like sauerkraut. I think it's crepe paper that I've covered with glue, if it's the piece that I was looking at, to be the underwater section for Thunderbirds 4. This is a pastiche because the models they sent me were all different scales, and I'm a bit of a purist and I find mixing scales really difficult, and so I made this like a logo diorama, and I think I was one of the few people that got anything out actually near the anniversary. They sent out this box of craft stuff, which is what I used to make 90% of this. The foil was there, that hideous sawdust, which wasn't sawdust, it was actually wood shavings. I don't think they know what the difference is. So anyway, I used it and then hated it and covered it all up, which is what I'm doing now. And those palm trees are just so cute, but completely non-scale. So yeah, so I actually quite like this. It's fun. It's fun. It's a good way to show off these die-cast models without damaging them in any way. So it was a fun one to do. Ramen, no. There we go. I did use almost everything. The straw they provided, the crepe paper they provided, the wibbly bit of paper they provided. But crepe paper is thicker tissue paper with wrinkles in. And mixing scales lends itself to forced perspective. It does, Lily, but I just didn't want to have a really big diorama. And they wanted just to do Tracy Island like Blue Peter, but to be honest, Tracy Island looked really naff, and the instructions were so complex. I was like, oh, I haven't got time for this. I'm running a Kickstarter. But I've got loads of Thunderbirds models and I still need to do mine. So Jill says, I've just moved from filament to resin, working on 187 scale HO, and from my point of view it can achieve better, very small details, but indeed resin can be tricky to handle. So I started with resin, then I bought an FDM printer, and this was back with the Anycubic Photons and the Anycubic i3 Mega, which actually was the first printer I've ever disassembled and reused parts from. And it was really, I used it in my Severna Traveller, my Severna Spaceport Traveller diorama, which is what I did when I first met Ben. All those years ago. That's how I first met him, from Second Dynasty, who a lot of the guys here will know. This is the laundry room, which was one of the stretch goals. And I then turned it into a clutter, adding clutter video. But if I was doing 1 to 87, this is 1 to 48. And if I do detail parts, then yeah, but actually these clutter parts that I put on here, I made trays and mugs and stuff, are all printed in FDM. And I think if I had a 0.2 nozzle, they'd do a little bit better. But, you know, I've done plates of food with it and it's not been bad. I wouldn't do figures with it, but I am going to try doing figures later on. Well, not in the year because we've only got a week left, but I've got plans to do some scuba clones, and I want them to be in water, and it's best if it's, because I've got fish, it's probably best if they're not resin, because that can kill your fish. So yeah. Lily, any tips on preventing resin to warp outwards along edges? I've had that issue with my U2 railcar front a few times. And Digger says he's had some resin warp problems. So Tim, who is on here, he actually puts braces on, designed in, or leaves his supports on and cures them with the braces holding it shut. Because I know you had warpage out, didn't you, Tim, on some of your parts? So he would leave something that he would then clip out later that would keep it in the right position, and then, or you can cure it on its supports, on some of the supports. Personally, I think the big issue is that it's uneven wall thickness. So these are FDM, these details. I think they've come out quite well, really. So I read somewhere, because I had real problems when I did the Type S in 15mm in resin, because it warped out. And I read then at the time, and it said if you have different widths of wall, it is naturally going to warp over time, because it will just cure at different speeds. And what happened was the wings were doing this at the edge. It's like a Star Destroyer, so it was warping up. I ended up gluing it shut because it annoyed me so much. Hence, I took out the interior totally and just ended up doing it as a one piece. All of this is FDM though, so whilst it's not great, it's not bad. The aliens are resin. So I would say I split my printing. If I've designed minis, I print them in resin. If I've designed terrain, I print it in FDM. So yeah, Tim says, yes, I use braces on my wagon designs. The braces are a simple FDM prints that I just push on. I've also put sacrificial bits that get clipped out later. There we go. Thanks, Tim. Posted it on the Discord for illustration. Okay, that's cool. There's Huey and Dewey and Louie. Yes. Anybody who hasn't watched Silent Running, that may not mean that much, but those hydroids, as I called them, the hydro droids, were based on Silent Running's ones. Because when I think of hydroponics in space, or when I think of stuff in space, I think of Silent Runnings. So Tim, I usually leave the braces on for several days after curing in the UV box with the parts on the windowsill. Hi Edscar, greetings. So I love adding clutter, and actually I wanted to do this video about the Transport Delta that I did from Ben ages ago, because it looks really bare, but I've also got the Trailblazer to do, so I do need to go and clutter up some of those other ones as well, and get them sorted. So Digger says yes, poor little robots. Yeah, indeed. So these are receipts from my local fish store. And I was making them into bits of rubbish. Receipts are quite thin paper, so they are quite good. So actually, I started the year going, I didn't do very much this year. And then I surprised myself because actually I have left one of the videos out that I did. I realise now as I'm looking at this and think I haven't put it in. So I actually did a lot more than perhaps I realised. And I want to just touch on, I was, looking back, and we can look at everything that I've done. But actually, I think it's very easy to undersell ourselves. Sometimes, some years, we're not in a position to do a huge amount. We've got other things on, we haven't got the mental capacity to do it, we're in a bad place, real life gets in the way. My mum had a knee operation at the beginning of the year, so I spent a lot of time caring for her. She's having another knee operation next year because the other one needs doing, so I'm going to be doing that again. And sometimes real life gets in the way and you don't get as much done as you wanted. Sometimes I just can't be bothered. I'd rather sit down and read a book than model. So I often do just sit down and read a book because I'd rather do it, especially at the weekend. I'd rather do anything in life practically than tidy. But I do need to tidy, so I get on with it. Tidying, long-term aim. By the end of the year, my house needs to be tidy. I've got my friend coming in January. She needs to be able to get to the bed. So anyway, one thing I do think, looking at, I can be very hard on myself, and I don't think I produced a lot. I put all this video together and I'm like, actually, I've done shed loads. Look, I'm still going, and we've been going for an hour and a bit already. So yeah, I actually did a load. This door, mirroring this door was a nightmare. It just didn't work. So I actually think sometimes we can be our own worst critics. But the thing to remember, for me, this is a job. I have to deliver. I have to create because I'm forced to. And for me, that's a real joy. I love modelling. I love designing stuff still. So I'm happy to spend all day creating this kind of stuff. Really happy. Wasn't so happy it took me about 3 days to sort these S's out so they actually fitted and printed well. But it's a real joy for me to be able to do that. I'm very blessed. I can do it as my full-time job. I'm very blessed that I don't need to earn a lot of money. So the fact, because it doesn't earn a wage, very blessed by all of that. And as a result, I probably am in a different place to you because I have to do it. You guys, it's a hobby. You don't have to do it. You don't have to model this. So you do it when you enjoy it. You do it when it's working for you. You do it when you have the time. I didn't like this alien diorama because I didn't like the way I painted the shadows, and I just felt it was badly painted and it let it down. It was just very splodgily painted because I was in a rush. I needed to get it out and I had other things to do. If I had photoed it in a better light, as in a lot less light, so it was darker, and maybe rim lit the alien a bit more, I think it would have been better. But overall, it just used what I'd already got and created this alien diorama. The mirroring was a struggle to get to work, but actually the alien itself was a Papsicles print. And, I just painted it. It worked really well. I didn't prime it or anything because I left some of the original resin colour showing. But it's important to understand why you were doing these things. When I used to have loads of deadlines, I had far more deadlines when I was doing this and it was a hobby than I ever do in my job. It's really funny. I almost refuse to deadline myself when it's my job. Just to stop putting the pressure on to overachieve. So yeah. So Digger said, does that help a lot? And he was talking about the braces. And Tim says, yes, it does help. I had a lot of trouble with wagon axle boxes spraying outwards, so the wheels no longer fitted. And Joel says, wraps can occur, warps, I presume, due to setting on the curing of each layer. Increasing time can fix some issues, but also the temperature of the room. Well, that's from my new experience, but I'm still learning. So all of this warping is happening afterwards for us. So it's something to do with the warping afterwards. And for me, you know, it's just, I don't know. I can't predict why it's going to work, but quite often it's because the inside isn't properly cured, and I think that causes me issues. So Shergel, these tidy up YouTube influencers are really cleaning up. Oh, they are. Ed Scar, the hobby should always be the thing you want to do. And if you want to do some other hobby, that's also good. I think so. People often say to me, why don't you do model railways anymore? And the answer is, I kind of run where I wanted to on that particular hobby, and I wanted to try something new after 20 years. And people get very disappointed by that. And you go, but actually, I have to want to do it if I'm going to do it all day, every day. And I've always loved sci-fi more than I've loved railways. So there we go. Lily, so your bins are already generously painted. Oh yes. Oh yes. And it flakes off and I repaint it again. And Ed says, my wheelie bins are also covered in many types of spray paint. It's a sign of a true modeller. Maybe in the future, says Norm, you'll be able to print out spare parts for ourselves. A knee replacement maybe. Yeah, but I wouldn't want to have to install it. Let's put it that way. Digger, is that the first body part you'd print for yourself, Norm? Let's not polite answers only, please. Lily, to Norm, I do believe that's already a thing, just not in the biological material for the most part. Yeah. I've also seen orthopedic insoles done as 3D prints. That's a good idea. So this was another video that I actually did in February, March, for when Mythari March, and it had to be finished in March. So I finished this in March and put it into the painting contest and forgot about it. So the video only just came out. So Norm says, no, my knees are pretty good, thanks, Digger. Oh. Shergel, we should give more details about sanding. We've barely scratched the surface. Oh, Shergel, where do you get them from? Where do you get them from? Ed, my projects are done when they're done. No time pressure needed. I think my biggest problem with doing YouTube full time was that I never felt anything was that good quality because I was always trying to get it done to a deadline. So, yeah. Doug, you're really grinding through those puns tonight, Shergel. Shergel, I don't know, it seems to be causing a lot of friction. Oh, you guys. Doug, I find your humour quite abrasive. Shergel, I once was a masseuse, but I really rubbed people the wrong way. Digger, the thing is, all the techniques of printing or diorama that you demonstrate can be translated into all kinds of situations, from model railway to sci-fi and everything in between. Definitely. I think maybe figure painting is one that you think, oh, that's only going to be in bigger figures. And then you see someone paint a HO scale model with exactly the same techniques. And you go, no, you can just translate them. So Lily's telling Shergel to get out. No. Monique, hi. Can't stop, just dropping in to wish you all happy holidays. Have a great and safe festive season. Kathy and all. Thanks, Monique, and you. Have a great one. Happy Christmas and all of that for the new year too. So this is probably one of the last videos that I put out, but I will have put out another. I put out loads of Patreon videos I didn't put up. I just put a couple on here as demonstrations. But nobody really put anything in chat about what they thought I should do for Patreon. So that's one of the things I need to fix next year. I need to spend a bit more time on my website, doing my newsletters and social media and emails and Patreon. So, one of the things as I look back over the year is I dislike marketing, so I don't do it as much as I should. But marketing is really important. Now, I didn't do any more marketing for my last Kickstarter that did well. I actually did more for the one in the middle that didn't do as well. So it can be a little bit confusing. And one of your biggest marketing locations when you're a Kickstarter is actually Kickstarter itself. But I can see that I have things from other locations and other places. So I can see that, it does pull in from outside. So Monique says summer is hot here. Stay safe. Oh, yes. Here it's you know, it's not too cold compared to many places, but it feels cold for the UK at times. You know, getting to freezing is cold for us. I say so way too much. It's a real habit. One of the things I need to do now is I need to look back and take away some actual learning points from the year, because there's no point throwing all this video up here and just waffling about Doctor Who or Star Trek or whatever. I actually need some concrete things of what I should do better or differently last year. And for me, it started actually at the end of this year. I need to do my modelling more regularly, because Kickstarters will always take precedent and I will bump everything else for them. But I need to start going through my backlog. So one of the last things I did at the end of the year was to disassemble the 5 3D printers that I'm no longer using. One of which was still working. It was my plus size one, but I just find the quality off, and I'd rather split the prints and glue back together than actually print the larger prints at a poorer quality now. And one of the problems I have with that is my droids are printed at that quality and I just can't face sanding and filling them. If I'd done them on my bamboo, that would have been painted by now, because I probably wouldn't even have sanded. I'd have just spray puttied and done it. And it's hundreds of pounds worth of filament, so I don't want to reprint them. But there's a huge amount of work of sanding, and you saw how anal I was about sanding the Trailblazer. So it's a huge amount of work which needs doing. So once my 3D printers, there's still some bits up on the top desk because I want to take some parts, especially the heat sinks, which are really pretty, off the PC boards that I'm throwing out. All the metal I didn't want went out and a metal man took it. If that makes no sense to you, the metal men come up and down the roads looking for stuff that's been left out that's made of metal, and they take it away for you. And then they sell it. So it's just like a really good way of getting rid of junk with metal in. And they'll take most things. So my learning point is I need to do a little bit every day. So doing 4 o'clock for an hour and a half, 2 hours before I go around and make supper with mum actually gets me quite a bit of modelling done. Now I don't do that on I do it almost every day. Tomorrow I may need to just write up some RPG pointers for my guys, because I know what's happening, but I just need to write it down to make sure I don't miss anything. So 1.1 for me was the way to win the race on the modelling is to do something every single day. So that was my learning point. Even if I don't manage it every day, but the downside is it means I spend less time designing. So my big New Year's resolution is to get out of bed earlier next year and to actually do more in the morning. And that means I need to go to bed earlier and not read as late, because I am generally reading late, or doom scroll, because sometimes I just don't want to go to bed, so I don't go to bed and then I'm too tired. So that's my kind of learning point. 1, do a little and often. Set time every day, even if it's just tidying or doing Scut City. But actually what's made me work on Scut City is I needed to find homes for all the parts I'd taken off the 3D printers. So I took those off. The second thing then was go to bed and get up earlier. And that was number 3 as well. 1 was get up earlier, the other was go to bed earlier. But that's what I need to do. I need to get through some of these projects, and that'll then produce content for social media, but not at the expense of my design work, which is where the actual money comes in from. But I do need to put away Outbound Station, and what I'm going to do is break it up into like little playable spaceship size things, because one of my Kickstarters next year is going to be playable spaceships, and they're going to have almost like containers for the actual interior that you can swap around and stuff, and different exteriors. So I've got it all planned out. It's just, so I think next year is Medwing, asteroid base, and playable spaceships. Probably, but it might change. Summer is hot here, says Monique. That's good. 8 degrees today, said Lily. Not enough for actual winter. It was, it says it's 11 at the moment. It was just windy. Norm says your figure painting was very good on these pieces. Thank you. I don't think it is, but I'm glad to hear other people do. These are my 3D printers in pieces. So this is the top. They're going to become cargo lifts at the back of the right side of Scut City. And then the other bits are being landing pads. So I've really struggled. The Y direction and the base is landing pads, but I've really struggled to find a home for those. I think those are going to be like windows sticking out the back. The other side will actually be towards you. And I'm going to put resin in them and creatures embedded in them, like a Dianoga or something. So yeah, I don't know what I'm doing with the orange things. They were the two resins. The resin ones, which have a Z screw like that, are going to be lifts, like cargo lifts. And there's some really whizzy bits you get off about focusing. So that's one of the focusing lenses. But the other one is just like a big metal funnel. And I reused every single one of these big T-slot bits of aluminium. And I bought some extra T-slot bits to build a framework that the hangers are on. So this is going to be like a sliding landing pad, so it can slide out and then away. But it's actually, they're all way too big to actually fit in Scut City. So they are going to be, yeah, they're going to have to be somewhere just in front of it. And you can see all the bits here. That's a bit that came off the PC boards. It's a heatsink. So I'm going to keep those because I think they could be quite good to put into places, embedded and things. So yeah, that sounds good. Loads of screws of various different sorts. And actually those bits at the back that you can't see because they're behind me, they're off the Anycubic i3 Mega, which I took apart. I can't find the actual slider for it or the Z screws. I don't know what I did with those, but a lot of the parts went into, I probably threw them out over the years because they were very oily. And I think they were just too oily. Anyway, I'll have to have a look and see because there's only one other place I can think they would be. And I've got a bit of junk of stuff that is going to get pulled out, and I'm again going to use some of those bits of metal more than anything else. So all that just needs to be sorted through. I've got, yeah, some bits which are interesting on the PC boards. Most of those are just going to be pulled apart for one or two bits and then sent to the great metal men in the sky because they're almost reusable with the proprietary stuff. But all of the stepper motors are going to get used, and some of the bits of moulded plastic are going to get used as well, probably. But I ended up keeping most of the central supports that things slide back and forth on their original bases because then they're already set up and bolt together properly. And I bought some more of this T-slot, it's called, to create a framework for them, and then ended up using completely different parts when I tried to put it together. And I've had to put it outside the Scut City, as I said, because it just wasn't working otherwise. So Lily says, that reminds me I should be going, but I don't want to. This is too cosy. Oh, thanks, Lily. Well, it's good to have you if you do slip out. But yeah, I'll see you on Discord anyway. Oh, that's going to be a landing pad support, a little round landing pad that sticks out. I need to grab Lily's crab off the printer and print the clip, says Doug. You do indeed. So this is the start of the right-hand side. I've actually tweaked that a lot today. And the photos are on Discord, as I said. So that's, I decided the rest of it was shelfy enough and that this wants to be very vertical feeling. So it is going to be quite vertical feeling, and some of the others are going to feel more like districts. But I am going to try and put buildings going through and joining up, especially lifts. I can't really cut holes at the moment because of just the way everything is in. It's very hard to get in to cut a hole, but I am going to try. This thing here that I was looking at was my old Severna Spaceport Traveller diorama. That's actually been ripped apart, and all the pieces are going to go on 3D prints so they're more solid and usable. Because at the moment that was just a bit too big and a bit too wobbly, and it was too wide and too narrow. But I really struggled to work out where to use all these parts. And I've ended up, I put some parts in and I just thought, I'm putting these parts in, they don't even look good where they are. I'm just putting them in to use them up, which is what this is supposed to be. But actually, I'm going to design some more parts. And the bits, especially around the temple, I was trying to put too much temple stuff in. So there we go. Hyped, says Lily. For her, Doug's printing something for Lily. So Norm says modular spacecraft sounds great. And then Doug says the clip will only take 5 minutes. That long. And Doug says Second Dynasty have some modular fighters. They do. This isn't going to be fighters. This is going to be more like craft, you know, freighty type stuff. Dragon's Rest, Doug says, has modular vehicles that can be ships or land-based. They're brilliant. They're really, really good. But mine's going to be a slightly different type of modular to those, I think. So Lily Who says, sleepy dragon I am. Yeah, dragons need their sleep. Doug says, wake up tomorrow to pictures of your cab on the Discord. Woohoo! That's the secret hangar at the back there. You know, just down there on the picture. Secret hangar. It's going to be behind the Sith Temple. And then it's Nanite, says Norm. And then Lily says, I really should, 10:30. Oh, yeah. You don't want to be turned into a pumpkin at 12. Shurgle says, some dioramas are more uplifting than others. They are. Where's the pun in that, though? Why, you little... -20 here, just an average day in Canada, says Macaro Siding. Yeah, that's why I say, you know, it's cold for us is not cold for most people. I fully recognise that. And then Rezikai, you should auction or sell some of your old builds you don't want anymore, Kathy. I bet people would buy them. Actually, you know, whenever I say, oh, I've got this to get rid of, nobody ever jumps at me. So I put together Scut City, and it is a bit like a bookshelf to get loads of stuff in. But actually, I want to reuse that Saverna spaceport. It's got an Arduino, lights, moving monorail, and a moving cargo rail. So all that's happening is I'm changing the end supports on it and finding a location for the just the electronics to go that's better than it wasn't very easy to move that. It was really big and bulky, and I'd actually like the electronics to be at the front, so should something go wrong it's easier to reach them. I don't know how I'm going to reach the back to plug in some of these LED strips as time goes by. So actually I want the LED strips in, and they're going to be fed from the back. But I think most of the electronics are going to have to be fed from the front so I can actually reach them. And so I'm going to have rock work that kind of goes up over the frame, and concrete as it gets higher, Duracrete or whatever, that then I can put wiring runs in. Put me down for Dagobah if it comes up. Digger, that's one of my favourites, so that's not coming up, but I will put you down. 5 degrees C and rain last night here. Yeah, you're a bit further south than Canada though, aren't you? Though to be fair, that means nothing, because I'm actually further north than Canada and I'm warmer because I have a maritime climate. This is going to be a massive lava cavern in here. So there's going to be rock work coming up the back there and kind of arching in. So it feels like a cavern, whereas at the moment it feels very open. And I probably will end up printing those. And I've got a load of, I've got a load of like lava channels that I was printing to put into something. I ended up doing the full slew, even though I don't know if it's ever going in a Kickstarter. But I printed these to go in it. Again, a couple of colour prints. And they'll probably go at the back, where I'm waving actually a minute ago. They're probably going to go at the back there. I was hoping to get some landing pads in this space, but they were just too big in the end, too long. And I could have cut them down, but that gets really hard. So they've actually come in front of it on the left. So yeah. Doug says, you were talking about lift installations just before Shergel typed his uplifting comment. Ah, right, thank you. I missed that. If time delay. Lily, anyway, before I start a cat, or rather a dragon fight with Shergel, I shall excuse myself. Well, good night, Lily. Sleep tight. Don't let the bed bugs bite. It's my favourite too, Digger. Right, So there we go. So there's a lot of me waving my little finger around here, and this is actually a Patreon video. So if I had been, if you'd been on Patreon or channel members, you'd have seen what I was actually saying, which I can't remember now. And there's a lot, and I've actually done quite a bit since with some shelving, and I've got stuff in the back there. I haven't totally found out where I'm going to put everything. So I probably will end up doing some more modularity, because I want to be able to get into the bookshelf. It's quite hard. I'd be worried about knocking stuff over at the moment with all that there. You know, I need to do a bit of tidying, but this room that this is all in needs to be clear gangways on Wednesday, because I'm having solar panels installed and the access to one of the roofs is through this room. And then tomorrow or Tuesday, tomorrow the scaffolding comes. So my car's on Mum's drive tonight, in case they come early. I need to remember to, I don't know what time they're coming. But anyway, the scaffolding's coming. And then on Wednesday, the men are coming, and I've got to clear access. There's loads of crates in front of it, just easy to move out the way. There's loads of crates in front of it in the loft that I need to pull out, because it's where my workroom is. So there's a lot of me pointing with this finger, and I'm obviously talking a lot. So patrons, you see, get a lot of talking. You know, this whole joke that it's a 5-minute video, and it never is. But I do feel the electronics are getting a bit buried. I don't want the back to be required, but the LED strips do feed better from the back. So they'll probably get fed from the back, and then if I need to access them, I'll have to make the backs clippable, maybe with open lock, but pushing them out so that, you know, maybe having a sliding door or some hanger doors at the back there, so that if needs be, I can get in to get an arm through to get at anything there. Everything power-wise is turned off at the mains. I don't leave anything on to turn off anywhere else. They're all turned off on the mains on extension cables, so that I can just press a couple of buttons and turn off the whole thing. And I can tell when I haven't done it, because the room has lights that it shouldn't have. But I'm a bit worried. I left the lights on in these bookcases overnight after either an RPG night or I think it was after an RPG night. And I came down the next morning and there was a very funny smell in here. And if I turn them on now, there's kind of a sizzling noise, and it's still got that smell again. So I do need to check. Something here must have burnt through, or one of the solder joints just arced a little. So I do need to spend a bit of time just looking at this and doing them again. And I would probably go for cob strips if I was doing it, because it's a more even light. And RGB cob strips. I think those are, I don't remember if they're RGB or not. I don't think they're coloured. So anyway, oh, see? This room looks a lot tidier now. But this was, I got out, I said earlier, I got out my galactic racers and put them here. I'm actually going to probably move the FDM ones off the rippled sand base. The rocky base is resin and they're glued in, because the resin didn't print the interiors as neatly. I got them pre-supported compared to mine, but they just weren't as snappy, so I ended up gluing those, and just the resin generally needed a bit more glue than just the clips, and the uprights are FDM, and so, but the FDM ones I might rebase and put them in Scut City somewhere as like city racers. So my friend's coming at the end of January to stay. It does actually look a lot better. This was when I'd be pulling everything out of boxes trying to find stuff. So there's a lot of boxes thrown around. But I could do with finding some homes for a lot of stuff. You know, oh, this is Aberloth, which is a Mammoth factory model. And that's going to be coming through one of those old VAT bases. As if there's a water level, there's a works level, which my guys have been around on the RPG, and it's got water storage tanks, so that's going to be pulling through, so you'll see that as you look into the tank. So there we go, me and my non-existent Titanfall cosplay, which is basically a top and a pair of trousers on the landing. And that's in my Patreon, one of my last ones, I think, that I had before I did this. So there we go. What are we talking about? Oh yeah. And then Doug says, Shergel says, thanks Doug for raising awareness. He's back on the lift jokes. And Lily said, night. And then Ed says, ooh, electrics getting warm is really not a good thing. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Oh, this was me. I finished the video and then I went back and had another go about talking about how to slot into this. I was really struggling. In the end, I've got a clamp. But one reason I wanted to get everything that needs to slot in is actually to get a second shelf in on the right, I have to take out that to get the next one in, and I have to twist them up, which means an awful lot of flexing of wood. And so I actually used some of the offcuts from the levels that jutted into the lava cavern to do some rounded feeling ones. And the feeling on the right is going to be very tall with the foundations into the lava cavern. So loads of foundations are going to be coming down on the other ones too. So that was that. That was the video, and I managed to get it in. It was quite a long one, and I still missed out the Jurassic Park one, didn't I? So yeah, it was Jurassic Park, the original one. So I even missed out some of my modelling. So that's what I did this year, and I've come up with a couple of things that I need to do, which is about time management. But the one thing I struggle a bit with sometimes is motivation. And I think looking back over this is a really good way to motivate yourself. And one thing I need to do is I need to clean out some of my old dioramas got damaged in the building works and they're not yet sorted. So I need to go through and mend those and re-glue them. I need to go through and get Scut City sorted. I need to... the lava cavern is gonna really fit in with the asteroid theme, because all of the backdrops with doors, and I'm sort of thinking the asteroid theme will have rock work and then metal braced around the outside with rock work in the middle. I think I've seen it in Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order or one of those games I've played. So I'm just thinking of that somewhere. It may even have been the Battlefront where you play as Lando. Is that Battlefront? Where you play as Lando Calrissian in, which inspired the original lava caverns. So I'll have to go and probably have a look at the pictures from that. So I've got loads of ideas and probably 3 Kickstarters. I want to grid forge up some of my old stuff in each Kickstarter. So I'm looking back going, you know, the lava that I'm using in the lava here, which might go in the asteroid, I don't know. It's certainly going in my lava cavern. But those lava pieces there, they are the Coryx, the lava moon, but they've been reused. So I want to get better at reusing assets in a new way that uses GridForge, because everybody I know really loves GridForge. So I want to make these things without just saying, oh, I've put all the Coryx tiles on GridForge. I do want to make the lava into GridForge, but GridForge works best in smaller parts, whereas the lava was quite large, 6x6 tiles. So there's a bit of thinking about whether that's going to work and how it would work. But yeah, that's what I'm doing. And I'm making exciting multicolour, and I'm going to put some lighting in as well. I've still got more Scimitar on the side over there. And I bought a Brick Bling, because they do lights for Lego, Mull Scimitar kit. And if that works, then I'll be able to say to people that this Brick Bling kit is what I use to light it. So I need to do that. So there's an awful lot of plans for next year, but I think the biggest one is always working out what the Kickstarters are going to be. And I don't want Scut City to drive commercial decisions, but I actually think an asteroid base, not necessarily for a big Kickstarter, but it'd be more of a pirate feel perhaps, because it's an asteroid base. I don't know, it could be a starfighter base, a rebel base. I'd have to feel what the push is on it, what that hook is. But, you know, I think it could be quite an interesting one. And I've got hangars and cargo bays to do for Outbound Station as well. So if I can get 4 in, there will be an engineering hangar bay, cargo bay one for Outbound. And I've already designed some of that. Some of the walls have come from previous Kickstarters and I'd put together. I've already designed some of that. and I'd like to, obviously I've learnt a lot, I'd like to go back and improve it and make some multicolour decisions on it. So yeah. Miner settlement. Yeah, I like the idea of doing mining as well. I do like the idea of movable mining equipment that you could put a motor in somehow. I've got some that I found when I was going through my Gundam that are Kotobukiya, and they're like, and I'd made them, and they're like drills and other drills and round drills, and they had these little motors you could put in them. Outland, it's outbound. So my station is outbound station, but it's based on Outland station. Have I got that the right way around? I have. Which is based on Outland station from the Star Wars Bounty Hunter game that I've never played, that Jango Fett used to go to. So I think that's where the name came from. I think that was Outland, and I've called mine Outbound Station because it's the station on the way out of Saverna Prime and Scut City. It's the station there, which my RPGs have also been to. Gotta love it when your RPG is useful for inspiration for things as well. So I've spent a lot of time just doing Outbound Station, doing fun things like kitchens and mess halls and bunks. And they're not things that people normally do. So I think that is going to be the theme for Outbound. This one's going to be Medwing. So it's going to be hospital, and it's going to be like morgue, and it's going to be really exciting. But, you know, I still want that fun feel to it. That actually it's things that, oh, that'd be nice to have in an RPG, or that'd be an interesting place to go, but isn't normal. So I feel that hangar bays, cargo bays and other things are maybe just, I need to find the hook on them that makes them interesting, that people will go, oh look, it's another hangar bay, or it's another cargo bay, when other people have already done them. Ben's done brilliant ones. So I need to find what the hook is for those. And it may be, you know, someone suggested I put all my junk stuff from the sewer district in there. Well, you know, I could include some of that grid forged and it would be there. So yeah, I'm still thinking about the fun bits, the bits that make it fun. So for Med Station, the droids are going to be quite scary, I think. They're going to be there. There's going to be legions of them, probably. But yeah. I can't remember Outland, the sci-fi movie, but I think, Norm, it got mentioned the last time I mentioned it. And I'd have to go and look at it. I think I had seen it, but I couldn't really remember it. So yeah. But basically, High Noon in Space. Sounds good. Sounds very, very good. So my inspirations, I was designing Outbound at the time that Alien Earth was on, but I wasn't really channeling Alien that much, but it did have a bit of Alien inspiration on there. But actually my favourite things are very clean sci-fi. I like interesting, futuristic, but you know, I like Titanfall. I like quirky, Star Trek-y style, that clean style, almost as much as I like the more grotty, desolate style. I think it's lovely to model desolate, dystopian futures, but actually I get as much fun about modelling clean stuff. So I just need to work out how I do this. I don't think a hospital would ever be that dirty, but it might be that a research lab, I might do you know, smashed containers with the liquid out on the floor or something like that, that's modelled in so that people can do it. And that'll be the quirk for that one, that people will go, oh, that looks really interesting, I'd like to have that. But I don't want to model the creatures, so I want it that you can drop your own creatures in there if you want, and you can just put whatever creature you want in there. If I model any creature, it will be a Krogan, and all of you guys can point out in chat if you know what a Krogan is. Yeah, let's see if anybody knows. So anyway, Sean Connery in Outland. Okay. Every time I think of Sean Connery in sci-fi, my brain just goes to that mankini thing he wore in Zardoz. Oh, yeah. No, I struggled to get my mind off that then. Oh, it wasn't a flattering look on anybody, was it? Not a Centauran. No, probably not. I like Krogan. I like Tank, the Krogan. So it will be that. But Centaurans another option. They're probably quite easy to model. You just model sort of potato, don't you? Like Mr. Potato Head. Shergel gets it. Krogan are not a fertile ground for cosplay. Oh, that's a good one, Shergel. If you haven't watched it, I'm not gonna. If you haven't, played the game it comes from, then I'm not going to spoil it for you. But that is a very on-point joke from Shergel. But yeah, I actually played the game, and then they brought out a remastered version just as I finished playing it. So there we go. I might replay it again at some point just for the sci-fi aesthetics. But again, that's the sci-fi aesthetics that I really like. And I probably should tell you what it is because no one's put it in chat. Mass Effect. And actually, excitingly, they announced Galactic Racers. They also announced the remake Fate of the Old Republic or something. But the guy who is making that made Mass Effect. And to me, it's one of the original sci-fi sort of RPGs. It was very good. If I played it again, I'd do it in story mode and certainly not chat to the 1,000 people that I chatted to the first time around. It took forever. So anyway, we are at the end of another 2 hours of me waffling, and thank you for sitting through it. Thank you so much, and have a great Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, have a great break. Go model if that's what you enjoy. Go have a break from it if that's what you want, if real life is getting in the way. But have a wonderful rest, and I will see you back in the new year. When we will be talking quite a bit more about Scut City, I think, because that's where the modelling will have been over Christmas. And I will definitely be. And the one thing I haven't done this session, which I always do and I haven't done, is thank my moderators. So thank you to Digger and thank you to Norm who moderate you. They keep you all, they kept you all in line. Don't know you needed it. And thank you. So guys, have a wonderful Christmas. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you for supporting me this year, because it's been, as you can see, it's been up and down year. I've had my best ever Kickstarter, I've had my worst ever Kickstarter, and you guys have been there through thick or thin, most of you turning up for this live stream. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great one, and I will see you all next year. Happy 2026.